Good morning and welcome to our weekly edition of the Tourismus Namibia magazine's broadcast. Welcome again. My name is Frank Steffen. I'm the editor of Allgemeine Zeitung and obviously the coordinating editor for the Tourismus magazine. I might say we're probably the only magazine that is a tourism magazine that's currently published, and we're actually quite proud of it because at the end of the day, it's really about continuity, number one, and number two, we also felt that we really need to support the tourism sector at this stage. So, yeah, there might be different opinions about it, but we actually I think we did quite well. So, just to pat myself on the back a bit, actually not myself, but NMH, who's the publishing house. Anyway, welcome back. Today we again bring you a load of news, topics, and then obviously destinations and to the point. In the case of To The Point, we bring you 2 interviews today. But before we go there, let's just have a look at the marketplace. Topics. We've got quite a number of topics today. Well, 3 in fact, but interesting ones, I think. Etosha, obviously on everybody's mind, and you can see here on the photos that we bring you. Mind you, most of these photos have been sent in to the Allgemeine Zeitung by Ute von Ludwiger. She was there this week when it all happened. And it's quite a sad story. The Ministry of Environment and Forestry and Tourism has said that apparently 2,500 square kilometers have actually burnt down. Now that's a lot, but then you also need to consider that the Etosha Game Park, the national park itself, is in excess of 20,000 square kilometers. So they reckon roughly 12% of the area has burnt down. I'm still a bit skeptical about it because you will later on see we've got a map where it seems so much larger. But I mean, fire is always fascinating. It is so. And there are some people who actually believe that bushfires once in a while are actually a good thing for the earth and the soil to rejuvenate and so on. But I think what struck most of us was the sad state that's Namibia at the current level, because here you've got these huge fires. They've been raging since around about the 12th of October. Animals obviously coming they're being killed by the mass. And this is the picture that annoys me. I mean, there's no fire brigade in that place, and nobody has decided to alarm a fire brigade. Nobody had, look at this one, the person throwing water out of a second-hand paint container. I mean, what is the point of this exercise? There is no point. I mean, why wasn't the army called in? Why wasn't anybody called in to coordinate and make sure that these guys can actually help themselves? You can clearly see that the employees are more than willing to help. It's a case of management failed here as far as I'm concerned, and I'm talking management right from the top to the bottom. As far as I'm concerned, Ministry of Environment should have been involved. Even the Agricultural Ministry should have been involved, seeing that so many farms on the periphery of Etosha have burnt down. Here you can actually see it, how far it goes. I mean, this is huge. This is beyond Halali and going towards Okakweyo. And so for somebody to tell me it's only 2,500 square kilometers, I doubt it, because if you look at the salt pan itself, it is 4,760 squares. square kilometers, that is. So if you take the other size and you compare it and you'd say, okay, let's say it's only 80%, then we're at 3,800. Now the argument is obviously counting that not everything has been burnt down, but then if you put these into little squares and add these up, you still get to around 3,200 square kilometers. So somewhere the accounting doesn't quite work, and the sad part is animals are suffering, because what will happen now is all those animals will migrate towards the west, putting great pressure on the whole infrastructure and well, for that matter, the biosphere that you've got there. So I'm not convinced that everybody did what they should have done if they had been responsibly fighting this huge fire that's been going on for close to 2 weeks. The Ministry of Environment actually yesterday said they've finally got it under control. So let's hope that's true. Second item I wanted to show you was Swakopmund. Now here our authorities have clearly decided enough is enough, and I congratulate them on it. What literally happened over the past 17 years, apparently people have decided they can fish at the Swakopmund Dam, which is obviously part of the Swakop River stream going down as you go past Grootbarmen. And they literally found 4 tons of fish being accumulated here. Now 4 tons of fish is dried fish. You must imagine how much fish you've already caught, and obviously there was other fish that's already been transported away. And yes, some people will argue it could have been food, it could have. But they decided to burn it since it has been handled without the proper care and normal hygienic requirements that you would expect. So I think it's probably the right thing to have done. It's just a sad loss of once again, there are still some people in this country that have nothing in their heads except profit, profit, profit. And this is clearly one of them, because I'm sure at 4 tons of fish, though, that's not an individual person who was just trying to survive and care for his family. 4 tons, there's some bigger fish behind it, to be quite, excuse the pun there. Right, and then finally we had a bit of a sad story, but it is intriguing nevertheless. If you look at this photo here, it was made by Christine Winter, and she sent it in on behalf of the Elephant Human Relations Aid, EHRA. They're quite well known, very active up in Damaraland and actually the whole Kunene region. This was actually quite sad, and those of you who've read about elephants before will surely know she's not trying to drown her baby in sand. She's trying to protect her, because obviously it was a newborn baby, and it clearly was afflicted, and because of that it was standing and it couldn't get up, and in the process she was trying to just make sure it isn't sunburnt and all types of things. Now often you find that after a while the animal does get up, but elephant mothers are very stubborn. If they're in this case, the calf, if it doesn't get up, it will remain there until it's died, no matter what the circumstances are, whether it's got water or not. And so this was actually a sad story, but a tremendously beautiful moment somehow, with a mother caring for her young one there. Yeah, and those were our topics for the week. So next up, we've got destinations. Looking forward to it. We've just spoken about Etosha. You will see Chloe Doe will join me in the studio, and Etosha will feature once more. Right, welcome back. As you can see, Chloe Durr has joined me in the studio now. Welcome,
Hello.
Chloe.
Thank you, Frank.
Chloe is looking very much forward to our live broadcast, which we'll do at the NTE in the coming weeks. She already told me she can't wait.
Dropped the bomb on me now. He just chooses his moments. Very strategic, Frank.
No, but be it as it may, yes, obviously we hope to have some very exciting photos and destination points. We might actually revise it and see how we best shape it for the live show at the NTE, because at the NTE the Namibia Tourism Show is likely to take much longer than just half an hour, so I'm sure we'll get the right content for you to enjoy. So that's just a heads up for that time. Yes, and then Chloe's obviously brought us new contributions for this week.
Yeah, I mean, following on from one of our previous editions where we discussed our Orange River trip, I wanted to talk a little bit about the route home from Orange River along the C13.
C13 is the one going parallel to the river.
Yeah, parallel to the river, you know, from Alsenker to Roshpina, it's about a 100-kilometer dust road. And honestly, it's one of the most scenic roads I've ever driven in my life, because you're passing the grapes, vines, and everything on your left hand side, and then you've got the rugged Richtersveld National Park, and it's just, you know, unlike any other route in Namibia, because it's so lush and green and
exactly, that's what you see in the far there is actually the Orange River, isn't it?
No, that's, and then it ends up being like right on your doorstep.
Yeah, exactly.
And it goes through periods of being almost like a moon mountain landscape, followed by, you know, winding around the hills, and it's just and it's actually so well graded, because it's obviously a farm road, that it's buttery smooth. I mean,
you obviously know. Remember, we had that photo once as a photo of the month or week, where these huts, they are from migratory workers.
Yes. And as you can see here, you've got the river, excuse the dust on the window, but you've got the river right next to you, and then you're traveling through these mountain ranges. And I remember you once telling me about Boerplaas, which is a campsite that's also if you wanted to stop, that's a great, I mean, I had a look. I mean, it's right on the I think it's a dam rather than the river. But again, I mean, just look at this hazy mountain. But what I found incredible was I was driving there in August, and it's flower season in the Namakwa land during that time. And it's often forgotten that Groot Namakwa makes up Namibia as well. So a lot of the Namakwa daisies had actually infiltrated into the, as you can see, this is almost on the road to Roshpina, and you've got the daisies had already started taking over there.
A Namibian would normally automatically accept that those must have been Devilkies.
No,
just looking at the photo from afar.
I see what you mean. But there were fields of them. I mean, I'm not sure if a photo showed actually how many. And I think we should actually start including Namibia in the flower route, because I mean, it
is actually included.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, no, I know. For example, remember we brought that video of Namakwa Ture. They actually extended some way into Namibia. So it really depends how much time you have and what you want to do. But I know that they, for example, do that.
Because it's such a contradictory to have this mining, then this riverside farming, and then these luscious flowers and mountains.
But did you actually visit some of those grapevine farms?
I didn't. I was in such a rush.
So nice.
Is it amazing?
You must do it next time, because I remember some of them have their little on-river sort of floating bars and whatever, and some of them just have a house and you just look down. But what was interesting, I always remember as we drove down towards the lodge now, and it had these tiny little boards saying, please drive slowly, small grapes asleep.
At least they have such a good sense of humor. I mean, I loved Namibia signage. It's actually something that we should focus on one time, because it's actually hilarious. And then actually going further north was a visit that I did actually a while ago to the Damara Living Museum near Twyfelfontein. And I have to say, it was, I mean, it's the first, it was the first of its kind in Namibia, and it's the only Damara museum.
Living museum,
museum. And it's actually, because of their social structure traditionally, they actually didn't manage colonization as well as some of the other cultures, and so they are, in inverted commas, more of a dying nation. And this preservation with living museums I see as so important, this whole conservation tourism being something that I think not only is important to fight poverty, but also just to, preserve the culture. And I've got to say, this was one of the most informative museums I've been to, because I make a point of visiting the living museums all around. And here you learn about the way the huts are built. You learn about the different perfumes, the ochre that they use on their face. And it's just, blacksmithing is a huge part of their culture. And it's just so, some of the time you feel as though it's staged, but here it was so beautifully organic that I thoroughly enjoyed the experience, I must say.
I always find that all of these living museums, I don't have a problem with them at all. To me, it's exactly what you've said. It shouldn't be stage play pure. It should be sort of a dedication towards your culture and showing off what your culture does and has. Whether that be in Damaraland in this case, or Wambuland, or even in the Sun people over in Bushmanland. That to me is not the issue. For me, the issue is it must be somehow authentic. And if it's only done simply to please the visitor, then you immediately feel that this is not convincing.
Exactly. And it's not even about convincing, it's about kind of being passionate about your origin and your culture.
Exactly.
And I have to say that this was the chief of the village, and he was so knowledgeable and so excited to share, how he lives. And it's just, seeing them dance and, even learning how to play Awela, which is a game that actually I used to spend a lot of time in Kenya as a child, and we used to play this with the children in Kenya. And so it's a game that is used widely.
Game, really. Yeah.
And because I already knew how to play it, because I'd grown up playing it, I spent hours with the chief, like playing the game. And
you were surprised that you could actually
He was surprised, but it just goes to show, African culture is just so, diverse, and it stretches across the whole continent, and there's similarities in every country. And so that was a beautiful moment to be able to share that with him.
But you must always remember that most of our people, no matter where they come from, they essentially came from Central Africa, moving down. And that's why there are often so many similarities, whether it's the languages. I remember knowing the one, he was a Wambu gentleman. He worked with me as a colleague. And then one day we drove right up, we went from Grootfontein right through the Zambezi region, which was then still Caprivi, going into Zambia, and we ended up in Tanzania. And he was always able to communicate with these people.
Yeah.
And then he said, no, for years he used to be a truck driver himself. And so over the years he realized that many of the languages just differ that bit. Some of them clearly have a different language tendency, but then for a certain region, it's more dialect than really a different language.
I completely agree with that. And that's what is so beautiful about travel, being able to pick up on those different nuances. But yeah, so I think making a point, especially now during COVID, to support the locals, it's always wonderful when they are putting up initiatives like that to not only preserve their culture but also make a living in an otherwise arid landscape.
On us, really.
Completely.
Because normally you would find that foreign tourists go there and have a look.
Exactly.
Now there's nobody. Like it or not, if somebody gives you €2, it takes them quite a bit forward. For us to give the same amount, we would need to give $40.
Exactly.
So we just need to understand that they can't survive without us.
And it's so worth it. Even just to educate yourselves on, the Damara were the first people to move down to Namibia from the north. And so their origins in this country are, deep-seated. And so, it's very important.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you wanted to take us to Etosha. Etosha obviously is in the news now often because of that sad burn,
Have they gotten it under control?
Well, they say so, but there's still arguments about how much is burnt down, but it's a substantial portion, that's for sure. And so I just hope the rains come in early, because you can basically say from Namutoni going almost right up to Halali.
Yeah.
We just spoke about it, Halali actually. But anyway, so just going those areas, it's I can't see many people or many animals surviving there. So they'll probably go towards the to the western side. But the sad part is now that comes under pressure as well.
I mean, it's so dry at the moment. It's unsurprising that a fire would have started. But with all these winds, I'm hoping that rain is actually on its way.
Yeah, and the big heat obviously contributed.
Yeah. But anyway, I just think, you know, Etosha is just so beautiful in its kind of how like opaque it is, you know, that because it is obviously a pan at the end of the day, and it's, you know, 16 million years old, this clay pan. There's something, you know, sometimes you'll go to Etosha and see like game upon game upon game, but other times you'll go and you are literally just
looking at the surroundings.
But the landscape really is quite incredible. And I mean, these were just some iPhone photographs that I think kind of capture the you know,
the essence of what they
and
are,
the character. You know, you can drive for miles and not see anything, but you have these really barren landscapes that are so incredibly like, I just think, and when it's cloudy, I think is when it's really at its most beautiful, because it kind of like illuminates the white.
I just wanted to say, it's almost as if the sun is lighting up that white sand even more.
Exactly. But I think the ghost elephants are also what kind of, you know, emphasize the whole clay and salt feeling that you get when you go to Etosha. I mean, even this tree is kind of whitewashed in clay.
Yeah.
And so it makes for like a beautifully like photographic destination, obviously. And I mean, it's not unknown. Everybody knows and loves Etosha. And Etosha Pan actually means Great White Place, which you know, obviously these photos just show it is.
But
when you compare this to like Sossus Vlei, it's like you once again you cannot even believe that it's the same country, because it's like so. You know, it's so
but
starkly
here you've
different.
obviously stayed just right next to the pan all the time.
Yes, I was actually, but just because I was overwhelmed with, I mean, I had actually come from Sossus Vlei to there, and for me it was like sensory overload to see that bright orange and then this just like, almost like you had died and gone to heaven, and it's just white. So, you know, that's the beauty of the Namibian landscape. I mean, it's ever changing.
And one shouldn't make the mistake simply because those photos were not taken closer to the actual salt pan, which obviously makes, I can't remember, I think it's almost 35% of the whole Etosha Park. But if you go further down to Halali and Okakwiu and beyond there's obviously lots of bush as well. So it's not only the pan.
Yeah, it's not only the pan, but the pan
but this is just to illustrate the colors, really.
Exactly,
No, I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for bringing us some
short
ideas.
One today.
We need to send her out because we say we're running out of new ideas. So let's see what we can do.
I'm not opposed to that. I could get up and leave tomorrow, so I'm pretty happy to hear that.
I must admit I would be the same, but it isn't. Thank you for watching. Right, destinations, there you had it. Always impressive, and at the end of the day, I'm quite sure some of you would be quite happy to look at same destinations over and over again. So whenever we say we don't have much in store, don't panic. We still have huge amounts of photos in store. It's just we're trying at this stage to always bring you new destinations, and there are plenty, so don't worry. We'll make sure you'll get some. Next up, we've got To the Point. This time, we've actually made sure that we've got 2 interviews lined up for you. The one is with Ian Stevenson. He's he's one of the NBL managers, and he's got some good news for us. And then you've got Jan Barend Skeepers. He's from the Renewable Energy Association. So let's see what they've got to tell us. Welcome back. Ian, good morning to you.
Morning to you. Thank you very much for having me, and welcome to all the viewers.
Yeah, it's Ian Stevenson. He's the NBL manager for global event.
Sponsorship and events.
Global sponsorships and events. Yeah, obviously we asked Ian to come in this morning simply to quickly talk about your sponsorship, obviously. But before we go there, just quickly tell us, what do you do at NBL so that the viewers may know?
Well, Frank, looking at what's happened over the past couple of years, sponsorship has become very synonymous with brand building. And, you know, it's a very emotional thing, sponsorships. You know, you appeal to people's emotions more than anything else. So we try and do that through our brands, through our sponsorships that we do, and objectively look at exactly what it is that NBL would like to do, and ONL as that matter, for that matter. And well, it just has grown exponentially, and here we sit in 2020. Yes, COVID has had an impact on sponsorships per se, but it's still a very important part of any major company. Yeah,
and this is exactly where it comes in. We're obviously not that far away anymore from the NTE, the Namibia Tourism Expo 2020. It's going to be held on the 4th of November, going right up to the 7th of November. And obviously we've got a good thing going there, because for a change we do something for the community again. And more importantly, obviously, for tourism. Tourism is what we do here. So my question is, and this is the good news, you've decided to sponsor our drive towards enabling people to get hold of a $1,000 voucher each time, and you're contributing 250,000 to it, which is obviously a great thing.
Absolutely, and you know, it's in our centenary year. We turn 100 years on the 29th. And it's an opportunity to give back to the community, because we can't celebrate out in the open.
Yeah, I don't think you would have ever imagined that the centenary year would be as
we were quiet. Planning on big parties and being a brewery, but no. So we'd very much like to give back to the community. And you know, COVID. One thinks of Namibia as quality meat and quality beer and all those good things, but tourism plays a major part. Yeah. And the previous minister, Honourable Minister of Tourism, Environment and Tourism, said it's not just up to the ministry to look after tourism in the country. It's up to every individual and every Namibian company to do their part. And this is our part that we can play in giving back to the community in this part. And as I say, tourism and the people out there have been very good to us over the past 100 years, and it's a way of giving back to the community.
So is it only giving back, or is there what is it else that you want to achieve by sponsoring this?
Well, we'd like to rejuvenate the whole tourism industry as such, because it, as I said, it plays a very important part in the foundation of Namibia. Yeah. And we've been very supportive of the Hospitality Association of Namibia over the years. And this year wasn't feasible. Yeah. So we just felt that there needs to be another avenue which we can plow back into the community, and this seemed a good platform.
Yeah, just to explain this whole thing, if you haven't read about it, I would be more than surprised. But obviously we've got this initiative at the NTE. We're sponsoring a total value of $1 million, each being $1,000 ticket or voucher that you can win. But as a winner, you need to attend the NTE. You must be there, and you must literally book a holiday at the NTE. This is really a move to revive the tourism industry from a local point of view. And I remember many of these guys saying to me, yeah, but the local industry cannot be more than 10%. It now seems, with all these initiatives that are going on, not only from your and our side, it seems as though we could actually be much further than 10%. And this really needs to be, because we'll never know, is there next COVID or not?
You know, frankly, to be honest, very few Namibians, I think, have actually traveled the country. And it's a beautiful country, let's be fair. And one always wants to go abroad and go elsewhere and everything first. Why? You know, really, let's explore the country and watch this space. One of our major brands, which is also turning 100, next week, is going to have an initiative next year, early next year, boosting exactly this, a bucket list little surprise.
Yeah, we obviously had your sister company own our leisure here recently, and they obviously also supporting the whole NTE concept and so on. So as far as we're concerned, we actually had a talk to Katrin here on the show the other day, where we introduced the fact that, for example, the Allgemeine Zeitung will actually have a support where we will dish out vouchers to old age people, so that we can somehow entice them to come to the Schlagernacht, which will be at Midgard. So
absolutely,
so
January.
So this is similar, but the NTE for now is our big focus. The idea is obviously to get the people much more involved, and to actually make them understand that I think tourism, the penny has dropped to a large extent, that you need to focus on the local industry much more. And I know many of them have said, yes, but we've always done it. Yes, you have always done it, but possibly not enough. And so to secure this whole thing and to get this out into the region, because that's the other side that we're trying to promote, is that we get all these guys out there from the neighboring countries to come to us.
Absolutely. And you know, we've seen it just in our sponsorships of the Fish River Ultra Marathon and the cycling event, the Quest that Windhoek Light has sponsored over the years. We've had some very interesting characters coming from abroad, and they've thoroughly enjoyed the country and have extended their stay as such after the event to actually explore and to see more of what there is to see. And I would encourage all Namibians, you know,
to do the same.
Do the same, because why save up and go abroad when you've got so much beauty and things that you can experience within the country? And you need time, you need lots of time, because it's vast.
Well, that's the thing. You don't need to do it in one weekend, do you?
Absolutely not. No. Absolutely not. You know, and you can plan your getaways, and I'm seeing that a lot of the tourism outlets, as it were, are now geared to cater for local tourists.
And that's exactly, and that's why I mean this impetus shouldn't be lost. We should continue this whole
absolutely because tourism isn't, as you correctly said, it's not only for the overseas and for the
tourists in my country.
Absolutely, and I love going. I've just been up to Tasha, for example, and you know,
and everybody says it's so nice.
It is so beautiful. It is really,
except those parts that have obviously burnt
down. We were fortunate that we went just before the burning, which is sad to see. And this country desperately needs a good rainy season. That is no matter of fact. But there are just so many beautiful sites that one can experience. And
so, will you, as NBL, take part in the show?
Yes, indeed. It's quite interesting when one thinks of NBL. One always thinks of beer.
Well, I admit I do.
And there's nothing wrong with that. But over the 100 years, we've had to become very innovative as well. And there are certain people that are not allowed to, or don't want to, or whatever, partake in alcohol. So we have brought out some very interesting products which are non-alcoholic.
I've actually tried them.
Beer-based, and 3 lovely products. So we're going to have tastings on Horizon, which is a lemon, apple, and a berry. Yes, and it's one. Very few people know that perhaps it's brewed by Namibian breweries and made by Namibian breweries. And this is a platform that we can use at the NTE.
Which are the 3 ones that you have now?
The lemon, the apple, and the berry.
Okay.
And well, you can take your pick as to which you think is the best.
I must admit, I prefer lemon if it is in beer.
That's a personal preference.
No, others who said no, the berry.
The berry, and then others say the apple because it's more like it's
a bit like apple moss then.
And I think it's it just gives the experience to so many more people to actually choose what they would like to drink, and not force them to drink an alcoholic beverage. But
I'm sure you'll still have your other products.
Oh yes, indeed, and they'll be readily available as always in Namibia, and at various tourism places, at lodges and every place that one visits. So we are proud to be solely Namibian, and very thankful and pleased that so many Namibians return to what their roots are.
Yeah, and this is really it. And like I said, I keep talking about it, but it is important to understand. This whole initiative, 1 million is not exactly small money. And
definitely not.
So by contributing 250,000 towards it is really a big buy-in towards technically giving 250 people the possibility of having a $1,000 discount on their next holiday.
Exactly.
And the only thing is you need to come to the show. You've got nothing to lose. If you go after half an hour and say, no, it wasn't for me, okay, then hopefully next time we'll do it better. But to me, the most important part is I think many people will be surprised at how much you can still do COVID or no COVID.
Absolutely, and I think one just has to be responsible in what one does, and I must say there, Namibian Breweries has been, and O&L for that matter, has been very good. Be it staff, be it corporate citizenship, it's been very responsible. We've stood together as NBL, in a time of crisis.
And it was a hard time.
It was. We actually closed down, and we were able not to lose one person through retrenchments, and that is an amazing stat. That's an amazing stat. We said right from the beginning, if we can get through this without losing any staff and having to retrench people, that will be first prize, and we've been able to achieve.
And I think most people are aiming in that sort of direction, but it's not automatic that it will actually work.
No, it took hard work. It really did, and it took people being multi-skilled and upskilled in various different aspects of the business, helping out where help was really needed, and we were. Just little initiatives like the leave bank, for example. Guys had taken leave because there was the factory had closed down, and they had expended all their leave. And with the initiative that NBL drew together was to donate leave into a pool, so that people could actually share that.
Wow,
and that was done just out of the goodness of people's hearts, and that's how a company has been able to survive, I think, 100 years. of standing together and doing things together under extreme difficulties. And people were just so pleased to be able to have a job to go back to.
But that's a big thing, is it not?
Absolutely.
You know, up to now, more than often in Namibia, you find there was this automatic thing is get the year behind you and see what the next raise will bring. You know, suddenly people have said, what can I do better to be sure that I've still got a job next year? Not only for their own sake, but for the company's sake of, you know, remaining in there and being able to sustain not only your job, but all the jobs.
Absolutely. And I mean, sustainability was one thing that was really top of mind. And it's one thing to be able to survive, but to be sustainable in your survival is another aspect altogether. So yeah, kudos to Namibian Breweries, and it's a great company to work for. I really can.
No, once again, thank you for the contribution. So before we part, is there any final thought on tourism? Where do you see it going in the forward? And how do you see NBL tying into that?
Well, I think it's a vital cog in the whole Namibian being, if I can put it that way, and we will support the Hospitality Association. As you said, we've got a sister company in O&L Leisure. We will support where we can. As I said, it's a very important aspect of Namibia to not only expose and have Namibia appreciated amongst locals, but also to get the income that is brought in by the people coming in from abroad, and that generates income, and
it sustains us all.
It sustains us all, and it ties in beautifully with the whole our sort of motivating aspect, and that's our theme of creating a future enhancing life, and you know, to be quite honest.
But I always feel there's something missing at the back there, something ending with a prost or something like that.
Well, we can always add that.
I'm sure Sven is waiting. Anyway, thank you for joining us here, and hopefully we'll see you guys at the NTE and partake in this magnificent opportunity. Thank you for watching.
Thank you very much.
Now today I have the privilege to speak to the chairperson of the Renewable Energy Industry Association, Mr. J.B. Skeepers. Now we do this with a focus on the Namibia Tourism Expo that will be happening between 4 to 7 November at the SKW in Windhoek. Now during the Namibia Tourism Expo we will be adhering to all relevant COVID-19 regulations. And this includes, for example, keeping wide open spaces between people and the stalls. Now, this year's theme for the Namibia Tourism Expo is renewable energy, and this is where Mr. Skeepers comes in. JB, would you like to tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for inviting me today. So, yeah, I'm J.B. Skeepers, and I'm currently the chairperson of the Renewable Energy Industry Association of Namibia, or I just say REAON. And just a small background on myself, I'm a Namibian engineer who in 2015 started working in renewable energy for InnoSun Energy Holdings. And we were lucky enough to build the first large-scale solar farm as well as wind farm in the country, and a few after that. And for those of your viewers and listeners that don't know, Namibia's had an incredible transition regarding its energy generation in the last 5 years. It's actually been a massive success, and I've been very proud to be a part of it. And last year I was given the opportunity to stand as chairperson for the association, And since then, our mandate has been to try and rejuvenate the association so that we're a little bit more representative of the way the renewable energy sector looks like today. The association had been established quite some time ago. I believe it's more than 10 years ago, and the landscape in the sector looked very different then. It was primarily installers and contractors and hobbyists, to be honest, that were playing with this thing. And there was 10 years ago, everyone was like, does it really work? Is it ever going to really work? And it's like, oh no, it's always so expensive and so on. And those initial founders of the association have actually done a great success at really laying down the roots for this eventual success that we see today. But now, since 2015, and especially really escalating in 2017, 2018, there's been massive investments. Probably some of the biggest investments in the country have been into renewable energy. And we thought it was prudent that the association now starts representing these larger investors, the larger independent power producers, as well as the guys who actually started it all off. Yes. So it's the smaller guys that are installers and contractors and so on. And what we would like to do is we would like to have a single platform where all of these stakeholders are able to constructively discuss issues, problems, and help formulate not necessarily an agreed to way forward, but that there's some transparency in what everyone is doing, and that I'm a very big believer in a small country like Namibia. Brutal competition doesn't work. I'm a very big believer of co-opetition.
Yes.
And if all the various stakeholders are able to discuss regularly, I definitely think that all development in the sector, as well as any other sector, to be honest, can be
coordinated. Perhaps.
Can be coordinated, but actually just be very promising.
Yes.
Yeah, and
of
exciting.
Course. I think that's really, really impressive, JB. Also, renewable energy is a really broad term. Can you maybe perhaps tell us more what it entails?
So this is often, if I'm going to become very academic about it, it's often quite a big debate, and some people would argue that something like nuclear, for instance, is renewable. Others would be saying, no, there's no chance that that's renewable. But trying to avoid that discussion, in the context of Namibia, renewable energy is broadly considered solar photovoltaic. So those are the standard panels that you would see on people's roofs and so on, as well as wind generation. So you'll see in Ludritz there's now a major wind farm, and then like I think in Walvis Bay and in Swakop you'll see some businesses have little wind farm or like little windmills on their roofs. And one of the more exciting technologies that we believe will be coming to Namibia in the near future is biomass. So that's where we actually extract the invader bush such as swartak and prosopis and so on, and we convert that organic material thermally into energy, into electricity. So those are probably, I'm leaving out a whole bunch.
Yes.
So I'm going, people can probably...
Just examples.
Yeah, these are just the three major examples that I think are very relevant in the Namibian context.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes, really, I think a bright future, especially also for biomass. Okay, and you guys are going to be at the Namibia Tourism Expo, but how does your association fit into the tourism industry, for example?
So when we found out that this year's Tourism Expo's theme is on renewable energy, we obviously approached the organizers, and they were more than happy to include us, which we're very, very grateful for. So the way that we see it, and this is especially on the, I could probably make an argument actually for both sides of the coin. As I explained before, we've got the smaller entities who we represent, who are the original members, and their incorporation into Namibia's tourism offering, I think, is already quite evident. Everything from isolated boreholes that no longer have little windmills. Well, you could even argue that a windmill, the old blast windmills,
Yes.
is a form of renewable energy, but you'll see a lot of those have now been changed into little solar panels. The same with very isolated lodges that you'll find in the desert or just far away from any of the NAM power transmission lines. All of them are now islands in essence regarding their own solar generation and battery storage, and that's how they power themselves. And what's very important about that, one of Namibia's key tourism offerings, in my opinion, not that I'm an expert, is that it is these expanses that are somewhat untouched. And
Yes.
it is so important that these isolated lodges don't suddenly have these power lines running across our landscapes just to give them energy. So I think in many ways there's a multi-dimensional value add, both in powering lodges as well as making sure that our offering isn't tainted, our tourism offering. And then something like biomass is obviously incredibly exciting. Not that it's yet taken off to its fullest potential, but I have strong hope that in the next 5 years we will see this. But that will really have a massive dent on our invader bush problem in the country. And that will drastically improve our savanna,
Maybe.
the ecosystems around savannas being re-established in the
Yes.
appropriate way with savanna game out and all of that, and that will be also great, more of a Serengeti-esque feel. But I don't want to say that that's maybe biologically I'm saying something wrong there, but I guess
That's the idea.
yeah, that's the idea.
I think it's really, really promising, and also you guys will be at the Namibia Tourism Expo and possibly some of your members. Please tell us, where can we find you and so on?
So I unfortunately will not be there. I will be traveling internationally, but several of my board members will be there, and I'm sure that we will be on the Expo locality maps. And I know that one of our members, we've just started getting our members to sign up through us to also advertise and have stalls at the expo. And so I don't want to ramble on exactly who all has confirmed and so on, but I can say that Namibian Engineering Corporation, NEC, is one of the members, and they themselves are an old constituent of or member of the association, so they in their own right will be able to explain to any of your listeners or viewers in great detail what the association is about, where we're going, and what we would like to achieve with it, and how to get involved. So we definitely encourage any of your viewers and listeners, please go to our website, go to our Facebook, and come and talk to us at the expo, and please get involved in the conversation of renewable energy in Namibia.
JB, I thank you so much. I think you guys have a bright future as renewable energy in Namibia does. So we are looking forward to be hearing more from you and hopefully write about all your successes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Yep, and those were the two interviews. Like I said, I'm actually quite impressed that at this stage where COVID has really had such a huge impact on all of us in terms of economics, that we still find that people want to support the NTE. NTE is obviously our little way of supporting the tourism sector. And we truly hope that the public will support us and thereby help us supporting the tourism sector. Just to be clear on something, some people outside are still under the impression that the NTE, Namibia Tourism Expo, is a big money-making scheme for Namibia Media Holdings. You better believe me, I know what the figures look like. This is not about making money. This is truly about creating the possibility of supporting tourism, getting those sectors to talk to each other. And for us, the real benefit of it is that we can talk about it and that we can write about it. And that's the good news. But make no mistake, this is not a money-making racket. This is about supporting tourism. And so we really hope that you will come to support us, even if it is only to visit the site, take part in the competitions, and who knows, actually visit the big live event that is the highlight on the Saturday evening. So you're more than welcome. So it's just 2 weeks from now. I said it before, 4th to the 7th of November. Please feel welcome to come and have a good time with us. And maybe we'll even meet each other there at the NTE 2020. Until then, stay well and stay healthy. Bye.